Welcome to Squatch-D where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D for today's date, May 9th, 2025. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls, along with my co-host right down there, Mr. Chris Bennett. Hello, Chris.
Steve, man, it's good to see you, bud. I'm really excited about tonight's show.
Okay, so Mick already banged out. I'm not getting notifications. It's probably going to show up in an hour because I actually set the show up late today. So I didn't set it up till like 7:15, so sometimes it doesn't give it the time to get those notifications. But that's all right. People will catch it in replay. It's all good.
Sometimes the notification works, and sometimes it doesn't.
It don't.
I don't know why that is, but, I think maybe it's the Men in Black.
You never, ever know.
The Men in Black sometimes sabotage our show, I believe.
Yeah, well, I don't get it. Anyway, we got a hell of a lot to talk about tonight, too.
Oh, yeah. This was good. I hadn't seen this. I'm glad you brought it to my attention.
Yeah, and, I you know what? It was a last-minute scrolling. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do tonight for a show yet. And I'm scrolling. All of a sudden, I see this article, bang, and everything fell into place. Because we're going to show tonight this scientific study, which us as Sasquatch researchers have known for years. For years. And it's kind of funny. But this in a way kind of validates the Sasquatch mystery a bit too.
It does.
So, I mean, I was kind of shocked going, yeah, we've known this. Why is this news to them?
Certain aspects.
Right? All of a sudden, something we suspected a Sasquatch does. Yeah. Something else does.
Yeah.
So we'll get all into it in a second. Oh, yeah. So anyway, let's do our roll call real quick because I want to. I'm so excited to jump into this topic tonight. Really a good topic.
Me too.
So first in tonight was Grant Rasha. Hello, Grant. Good to see you. Karen Fisher. Hello to you. Well, Pat Collins. I talked to him actually before the show earlier. Sandra Piper. Hello, Sandra. Angel Nolan. What's going on?
Good to see you.
Roy Longley representing the lurkers. Hello. What? Grasshopper. What's going on, brother? Gary Johnson Sr. How are you?
Good to see you, Gary.
And who else we got rolling through? Mick. Of course, Mick is in the house. Bill Finding the Trackway is here.
Bill, welcome. Trackway, good to see you.
And I'm glad he's here for this as well. Sasquatch Secrets. Nikki, what's going on, kiddo? I got to call you sometime. We got to catch up. We haven't talked in a while. Okay, that's it for now.
All right, good.
At least the talkers and the links. So let me start with tonight's monologue. Should I get my tie? I'm okay now.
Yeah.
I'm okay now, but last week I was in rough shape.
Joan needs to get you a Snapple.
No, I'm not even gonna try.
Or Joan.
She always, he gets the Snapple, she gets the crapple.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
So what's this about?
So folks, every so often, a piece of science drops that gives just enough to raise an eyebrow. In this case, more than an eyebrow. Tonight, we're talking rhythm, sound, and the mystery that lies deep in the woods. No, not a new Bigfoot recording, but something that echoes through the conversation like a low, distant knock on wood. We've all heard the stories, those eerie tree knocks breaking the silence of the forest. The one skeptics brush off, but the rest of us, we're not so sure. Then there are those reports you've probably heard talked about right here on this show. Witnesses describing strange, low-frequency humming or singing vocalizations that seem too deliberate, too patterned to be random. Not necessarily speech, but something. Now imagine this. Imagine this. A non-human primate, not just making noise, but using rhythm, possibly for communication. Not chaos, but cadence. Not randomness, but repetition. Sound used like a signal sent across the trees or across territories. Think about what this means when people hear rhythmic pounding in the night and swear it's not a human out there doing it. What if it isn't? What if it's someone or something with an ancient grasp of sound? Well, a new scientific study tells us that our primate cousins, the chimpanzees, do exactly that. This isn't about leaping to conclusions, folks, but it's about looking at patterns. And if some of our closest biological cousins are creating rhythm in the wild, it opens up a whole new way to interpret those wood knocks, those hums, those chilling night calls. Maybe just Sasquatch isn't lurking out there, it's performing. So let's get to this. So,
And
here we go.
I was like, wow.
Right. So anyway, this report just came out this morning, folks. So, chimpanzee drumming shows rhythmicity and subspecies variation. So I just want to attribute the authors of that, and you can read that list down there to this particular report. Chimpanzees show non-random timing and synchrony in drumming. Chimpanzee drumming shows key elements of human musical rhythm. Chimpanzees drumming shows regional subspecies variation across diverse ecologies. Does that necessarily mean culture, folks? Remember we talked about culture, which, learning different things across different areas. And of course, Eastern and Western chimpanzees have different drumming rhythms. So they both do it, but they do it differently.
God. Yeah.
Blows your mind.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of these things. Now, the two particular chimpanzees, and these are the areas that they were researched in, the Western chimpanzees over in the Nimba forest. And of course, the Eastern chimpanzees with the Gombe region, which is where Jane Goodall did a lot of her stuff over the years. So really, really cool. And just to show you, here's some of the patterns of the rhythmic, of the Western and the Eastern. So this is something that's been...
Look at that. Equal spaced rhythm. Look at that. Oh, my God.
Yep.
This is incredible.
Right.
I mean, what this means...
Not only that, but the frequencies to match. So they're not only matching timing, but they're matching frequency.
Right. It's not just a random banging on a log with a stick or something. Mm-hmm. This is rhythmic drumming, and the rhythms differ from region to region. Now, this is really cool.
Exactly.
I'm just floored with this. This is incredible. So
let's look at some of the things. Rhythm, structure, and drumming, non-random timing. The exhibit non-rhythmic drumming. The subspecies variations consistently used evenly sped beats akin to a metronome. The Eastern chimpanzees exhibit swing-like rhythm with an alternative beat intervals. So we got something like that versus the oots, 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 boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants.
I don't know if they're boxing yet or not, but
integration with vocalizations. Drumming is integrated into pant-hoot vocalizations. So not only are they knocking, but they're whoop, whoop. I mean, amazing with timing differences in between subspecies. So hit count and tempo differences. The Western chimps produce more hits per bout and drum at a faster tempo, whereas the Eastern produce less and at a slower tempo. So you know.
Maybe
Now, isn't that amazing? Because you go to the south part of the country, and what's the predominant music they like? It's country western, a little bit slower,
yeah.
a little bit, a little bit spaced out. And of course, you go out to the north, and you got the techno stuff, boots, boots, boots,
Yeah,
boots,
yeah,
boots, So, there's some parallels there that are very, very interesting. That they have their own type of particularity for the sounds they make.
That is spooky. The difference between the east and the west, it's amazing. With chimpanzees, they learn a lot of their behavior, and it's taught to them by their parents as siblings. And with these chimpanzees being that far apart, okay, there is no way they could have a learned behavior, between those two groups. So each one of them is drumming, but they're drumming at a different rhythm. That's wow, awesome.
Grant says even Bigfoots are afraid of dueling banjos. Evidence for musical features. Drumming patterns share fundamental properties with human musical rhythm, suggesting evolutionary origins. That's right. I want the banana. I want it now. Give it to me. I will not bow.
You're killing me, grasshopper. Chimp rap. Shoot me now.
I just did the chimp rap.
Yeah.
So this is suggesting that music may be an evolutionary or of origin. That this may be a primate origin type of evolutionary involvement here.
Right.
Social and behavior context. Drumming and traveling, resting, and sometimes during displays, even potentially conveying social interactions. Regional consistency and ecological independence. Rhythmic differences are stable over time and not explained by habitat type, indicating a social or a cultural basis. So their rhythmic knocks, no matter if it's over here, or over there, they're always the same, no matter whichever habitat they happen to be hanging out in. No simple human ratios detected. Chimpanzees did not produce rhythms with simple integer ratios like 1-2 or 1-3 or 2/2 or 4/4. Mm-hmm. So, if for those who are musical folks or again, higher rhythmic variability in eastern chimpanzees. Chimpanzees show greater variability between adjacent hits, possibly allowing more expressivity.
Right.
So that blows my mind.
Well,
and I've kind of created this chart to kind of
the reason why this is so exciting as Bigfoot researchers is because we have the unknown primate, which are our little buddies, the chimpanzees. And if they are scientifically capable and have been proven to do this now, right, we can relate that to the reports of the unknown primate doing similar things in the woods by knocking on trees and things.
And maybe their humming that we hear is actually them entertaining themselves, perhaps. Remember we heard that person talking somewhere in chat. We had this person that was talking right, about hearing them kind of like humming.
Yeah.
Which is
the singing Sasquatch. Yeah. I'm not sure I could go for the singing Sasquatch, but a humming Sasquatch would probably work.
Did you like the Sasquatch quartet on the thumbnail? I thought that was a great idea, the Sasquatch quartet.
Oh, man.
Hello, my darling. Hello, my darling. Hello, my darling.
But great.
This is amazing.
I never thought that these little rascals would be capable of actually doing that. And, I thought it's like a 2-year-old child. You give them a spoon and a pot and they can bang on it. All right, well, that's really not. And just so
folks know, I will be blogging this in the next few days, and I will include the entire PDF of the report in the blog, so you'll get all the scientific report. I have proper attribution. It's being shared by Wikimedia Commons, as provided you give the proper, attribution to it, which we have no problem doing it. We did it on the opening slide here tonight. So I will be providing that, so folks that don't want to kind of hunt this down, we already got it. So, but wow. And there's so many more charts that they measured the frequency, the durations, and they had them shaded to what the eastern chimps versus the western chimps.
The western grasshopper.
Yeah, well, like they said, it's of evolutionary origin now. So it's like they know it. I mean, it's ingrained into them. So I don't know. If you think about it, none of us. Yeah. Now, maybe their communication, the way they communicate, is taught, but their actual having that rhythm is something they're born with, just like we are. If you think about it, when we're young, we start playing, especially give a kid a xylophone. Bing,
Yeah.
bing, 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 bing. We start to learn music on our own. It's something we explore. It's one of our senses is hearing. So when we start hearing these different noises and different tones, it's a way we explore. So music is part of our natural exploration as we grow into adulthood.
Oh, we got a question already, Steve. Grant Rasha says, "What drum do Bigfoots use? Snare, bongos, tom-toms?"
Now that I think about it, what I should have did was I should have had a group of like 3 Sasquatch playing drums on a turtle shell. That would have been even better. But
it's all about that bass. Yeah.
All about the bass. Boom, 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 boom.
A lot of these tree knots are very rhythmic too. There's like usually 2 or 3 distinct,
or sometimes even just a single one.
Right.
But here's the big thing. They're using it to communicate.
Right.
They're using it. Scientists believe that the drumming is a form of long-distance communication, perhaps to alert other chimps where one chimp is waiting or the direction it is traveling. Well, haven't we been saying that about the Sasquatch for years?
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
So this is something that's validating some of the stuff we've experienced as field researchers, right?
Method of
that we've been saying all along. It's not like this came in. It's not like we said this after the fact of this report. We've been saying this for years. As an investigator, that's an oh shit moment. Like, this report just solidified what we've been saying for years about tree knocks. That it's probably echolocation.
Right.
Either, and that I didn't even think about it. It may indicate the direction of travel. I bang it over there, say, hey, I'm coming this way. I'm going that way.
Yeah.
So that is really wild. Let's go to the next slide. Whoop. So let's take a look. And this is a hypothetical Sasquatch drumming. Let me get my slide up here where I can see a little bit better.
Tackle Tactician, welcome aboard, bud. Good to see you.
So natural rhythmic drumming is natural, and of course, rhythmic drumming now in a Sasquatch is plausible. Communications identify and location. Wood knocks on as communication attempts. There we go. See, culture of our relation. There may be some regional. That's why some areas may get multiple tree knocks, and some areas get 1, or some areas get 2. Right? Because there'll be regional differences.
Right.
Again, it's like this whole language thing that when you have these in the know Sasquatch researchers that have encounters every day, they're in the woods with multiple creatures. They always say, well, they speak this language, and well, wait a minute. Even Homo sapiens, if I went to China, I'd be lost because I don't speak the language. I don't speak Mandarin or any of that. Or if I go to India, I don't speak Pashtun. I don't speak Hindu. I don't speak, any of that. And trust me, when we do, when we used to do, I should say, translations, we translated this program into 50 different languages. Now AI does it all by itself, so I don't even worry about doing that anymore. Because you can just click a button now on YouTube and it'll translate it for you. It just goes to show that these people will say, well, the Sasquatch language, they speak a form of this. No, they don't, because they would have different regional languages. And that's, again, there is the lack of science in a person that's just creating a story in a narrative.
Let me get a couple of these comments up here. Mick has got a good one here. Mick says drums have been used to communicate throughout many different cultures.
Sure.
Including as a form of battle communication to troops. Yeah.
And you know what? Here's the other interesting thing. Mm-hmm. The Europeans were doing it before they even knew of the indigenous tribes of North America. And the indigenous tribes of North America used drums. And so did the Europeans. Right? So, again, evolutionary origins. Now we're seeing that in not only us, but it's not just a Homo sapien thing. It actually extends out to other primates. Yeah. So to me, that's just makes all the sense in the world to me.
And Grant Rasha says, I think it's ridiculous for people to do wood knocks, especially if we don't know how they use it to communicate, just like doing whoops.
So let me pose you a question to that, Grant. If we don't experiment, we will never know. Right? If you get a signal from something, you're going to send that signal. Let's say you get a signal from outer space, you're going to send a signal back. Even though you may not know how it's interpreted or what it may say, or even if they understand it. But that's what they call experimentation. So that's why when you go out there, we tree knock. Why we go out there and we whoop and holler. In fact, I tree knock and I whoop and holler when I first get to an area, or maybe 20, 30 minutes after I get to an area. And for years, for a certain period of years, especially 2010 through 2013, activity would start about 30 minutes after I did that, because they got used to who I was. They knew how I would whoop. They knew how I would knock, because I would knock in the same fashion. I would whoop in the same fashion. I would talk in the same fashion. I gave them 3 different ways to say, hey, I am here, right? And then for those 3 years, we were getting activity. So we're 4 years inclusive.
I think, it's not really about the conversation. If you want to do a tree knock when you go into an area and you're just checking for a response. Now, you don't really know what you're saying, if anything, but if you do a tree knock and you get a response back, that means, hey, wait a minute, we may have some possible activity here. Either that or your buddy's on the other side of the woods.
Right.
But, careful coordination will solve that problem.
So, Mick has a great comment. You want to throw that one up, Chris?
Let's see here. Yeah, Mick says, that's what kills me with the TWI crowd.
With the woo crowd, I think he meant the right.
Oh, okay. Ready? When they claim Sasquatch speaks to them in their minds. How the heck does Sasquatch know human languages?
Well, exactly right. And then there's not like any English classes for them either.
Yeah.
It's not like they show up in school and they say I before E except after C, or, this is how you pronounce, chrysanthemum, or this is how you pronounce Denisovin or Denisovan.
Well, there was a researcher in Georgia, and I don't name his name, but he claimed that to be able to participate in that mind speak thing. And yet when these creatures would think to him, they would think to him in English. And yet he also reported that he had recordings in the woods of Native American language, or what he thought was Native American language. So it seems kind of odd. If these same creatures had been thinking to him using mind speak or whatever it is, it seems like that would have come out as the Native American language in his head.
Right. Exactly.
I would think. Which, I'm not real big on what do they call it? ESP, right? Or something like that.
Yes. Or mind, yes, telekinesis or ESP, or yeah. I think that's probably telekinesis is where you move things.
Yeah, that's moving things around. Yeah. And, there was reports of that. Some people would be controlled by Sasquatch.
And what they don't realize, and we laugh at it, but in reality, there's a lot of psychological explanations of what's going on. Is that they're getting hit with infrasound, and that's how their mind is interpreting it. Maybe their eardrums are getting rattled, and that's what they're believe they're hearing.
Yeah.
And their eyeballs vibrate as well. And because of that, they may hallucinate things, like all of a sudden, or they may be going through that cognitive, that shock, that shock that they're seeing something, and causes them to have a little traumatic regression, and they forget the Bigfoot walking off, or they don't remember the Bigfoot walking off. So in their mind, it just disappears.
Right. The brain is trying to make up what they're
seeing. And then of course you have the other crowd, the ones that make up things, and the ones that hallucinate things, and the ones that, there's a guy on Facebook who said, I was driving home from when I was at this expedition, we had, I had all this big type of things, but, never included anybody else in the group with them. And then on driving the way home, he happened to look out the window and see a Sasquatch down in the gully as he's driving home. I suppose it's possible, but come on.
Well,
come on.
It could happen. It could happen.
Yeah, but, if you read the rest of their post, you see Sasquatch every time he goes out.
Okay, well, that's not going to happen. No.
Right. We know, the boy who cried Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, there's a movie coming out, too, or a documentary. Or I don't know if it's a movie or a documentary or docudrama, The Town Who Cried Bigfoot. I don't know even what it's even necessary about. I got to do a little more research on it. I know our buddy C. Wayne Tethrow over there on the Paranormal podcast has been had the director, creator of the film himself on. So I gotta catch up with that one.
Pete's got a question, Steve, about the Sierra sounds. Pete says, do you think the Sierra sounds were actual language of the Sasquatch?
No, I don't. And the reason why is, and I understand Scott Nelson probably has a lot more language knowledge than I do, but the fact is he's using one source. Yeah. If I get all my source from the Sierra Sounds, and that's what I have for my entire thesis, the thesis is useless in a scientific realm. If he had a bunch of vocalizations from someplace else, like in Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, wherever, or not necessarily in the high Sierras, and they start doing something, then perhaps. Is it a form of communication? Yes. Is it an actual language? To me, doubtful. If anything, if there are evidence of a language in that could lend to the credence that it may be hoaxed. Because we have to understand that if it has patterns similar to human speech, that could be a hoaxer having some anthropomorphic tendencies while hoaxing the audio. Right? We cannot, if they could speak, we would not speak anything like them. They're another species. Right? It's not like we're talking to another Homo sapien. We can pick up on that. But another species having different vocal cords, having different structure of the larynx, having different muscularity around the throat, and maybe making sounds and noises that we cannot ourselves make. So that's the disclaimer there. I'm not saying the Sierras are hoaxed. I'm just saying that If it were true, that could lend credibility that, oh, that's the way I'm say it. Hoax all the time. Of course, a hoaxer would leave in human Homo sapien type patterns in the vocalizations because it's anthropomorphizing, because that's how it's thinking a Sasquatch would speak. And again, anytime you try to think like another animal or another creature of this planet, you are anthropomorphizing. Sorry. Such a hard flipping word.
I would think if the Sasquatch have a vocal cord set up like similar to humans, they would be much, much longer and thicker because they're much larger creatures than Homo sapiens are.
Right.
So their normal voice, if they have a voice, would be very deep, very, daddy saying bass,
100 years from now, when they find out a Sasquatch can speak, he's going to go, and they teach him some words in English, we're all going to be shocked. Daddy's going to go, "How are you doing, everybody? I'm Sasquatch." We're like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah, that sounds like Curly Howard. That would be a surprise. But
the circumstance.
The Sierra sounds are neat, though. They are, but
they're very interesting.
I've not heard anything other that sounds similar to that. Maybe some reports of people saying they heard something like, what's the favorite one? The favorite one is Samurai Chatter. People will say that they've heard that.
It wasn't too bad, was it?
Yeah, but yet they didn't record it. So we're relying on their.
Then again, the issue I have with that is audio pareidolia.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, somebody hears something that sounds in the ballpark, and automatically, oh, I've heard that before. That's the Samurai Chatter. Whoa,
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with that.
I'm not going there, Mick. I see your comment, Mick, but I'm not going to bring that one up. Okay. Oh, Gary. Wait a minute. That's Grant.
No, don't.
Okay. Well.
Don't. No.
Yeah, Mick, they might do it. They might sound like I'm your father. Yeah. I
am your father.
Now that's my thought. That's my theory, that since they are such a large creature, their vocal cords and their vocal tract system, if it's similar to ours, it's going to be very much larger than ours. So that means a longer vocal cord, a larger diameter vocal cord, and so a very much deeper tone.
Right. Yeah. The other interesting thing is the ecological influence. The drumming style was not influenced by habitat, and what we've seen in wood knocking is consistent behavior across varied environments. So there's been wood knocking in Florida. There's been wood knocking in Washington State. There's been wood knocking in New York. There's been wood knocking in California. So all the four corners of the country, or Maine, there's been wood knocking, in Canada. So it's pretty much cognitive complexity. The chimpanzees, it indicates cognitive planning and control. And then because the Sasquatch might do this, again, high intelligence may be implied. That's very true, Mick. The interpretation, not all noises are communicative. And as far as Sasquatch, we must caution against misinterpreting other forest sounds as well.
Yes. I think that may be
I'll give you a great example that one thing we learned at Whitehall in one of my research areas is that we kept hearing this single, this like tree knock.
Yeah.
And actually what it was a tire hitting a certain part of a road, because every time we would hear that, a few seconds later, a car would drive by. So what that was a tire hitting a certain road. It was making like this type of noise. Or a pop. It didn't sound necessarily like a tree knock, but it sounded enough that it sounded like some sort of knock using some.
You're thinking probably tree knock or mouth pop or something like that. Yeah.
And again, the whole term samurai chatter is anthropomorphic as well, as Grasshopper brings up as well.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to hear something like that. I would love to hear somebody else's recording of something like that. Just as long as we've got another one, that's the only thing. And I've listened to these area sounds, and I think they're cool. But the only thing that bugs me about it is nobody else is getting this stuff.
And what do we get?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we get. So yeah, like I said, what the whole review of this to me is this is stuff we've been saying all along about Sasquatch, and now they're saying all of a sudden, years later, and again, we're talking. When did we start talking about tree knocking a lot? Back in the 90s.
Yeah.
So here we are, 35 years later.
Right.
Or let's just put it at a round figure, 30 years later. And now scientists saying, chimpanzees, they rap a drum on trees.
Yeah.
That, to communicate. Wow, isn't that amazing? Yeah, that's what we've been saying about Sasquatch for the last 30 years, too. So thanks.
I wonder if they might have...
The ramen noodle screens.
I wonder if they got the idea from Sasquatch Research to check the chimpanzees out, see if they're doing that.
Well,
That's one.
I don't think anyone would probably admit to that.
Probably not. But something else too. While going through the article, I noticed they said that some of the chimps had different drumming patterns or styles.
And mind you, folks, everybody that's in chat, mind you, we said it here first. We made this comparison to this report first for anybody else. So, in weeks to come, when you hear people saying, well, that's what we've been saying about tree knocks. Yeah, we heard Kulls say that the day the friggin' report came out.
Oh, man. Well, with the chimpanzees doing this, and this activity has been reported about Sasquatch for years. So it just all comes home, man. It's just great.
Put Grass's comment up there real quick.
Grasshopper's, let's see. Grasshopper says, I've been in the woods most of my life, seen Squatch 3 times, and never heard knocks or whoops.
Okay, so I've had 2 sightings myself, been in the woods plenty of times. The percentage of wood knocks I probably heard, I may have heard real wood knocks maybe about a total of 3 times in 25 plus years being out in woods for months at a time. The whoop, I've heard some different like guttural type sounds. That was the first whoop I've ever recorded. So yeah, they are rare. It depends. A lot of witnesses don't report any vocalizations except maybe some aggressive ones. So you got to kind of look at it that way. Understand that Sasquatch is not going to vocalize if it's looking at something, wondering what its intent is, right? Mind you, that whoop was in I don't know the exact time, maybe within 2 to 3 minutes of me knocking and making some noises and calling out to them saying, hey, it's me, I'm back again, come on. Because I always say something, vocally as well in English. Right. And then 3 minutes later, whoop, right, a vocalization. So it may take some time and some work to get a familiarity. That's something Jane Goodall worked at. And that's something that I did setting out in Research 1.
Tackle Tactician says, do female Bigfoot nag the male Bigfoot like with humans?
Well, if we were to anthropomorphize the Bigfoot, hell yes. Damn it, you haven't cleaned up all that scat out in our area. Jeez. You got to rake the leaves. You got to, get the sticks ready for the nightly knocking.
That goes back to the communication. Do they communicate? Can they communicate verbally? Do they communicate non-verbally? There's obviously some type of communication they have between them, but is it a language? I don't know.
Yeah. So, at the Chris, about the 10-minute mark, I want to do an update on the Wednesday's episode of the film with that film we looked at real quick too.
Okay.
But yeah, I am just super stoked by this and see what future research comes out of this particular study.
Does this mean we'll soon get a real band called the Monkees releasing new music? I don't know, man.
That already happened.
Me too. I like the Monkees.
The Tackle Tactician.
Tackle Tactician. Let's see. It says wood knocks are from female Bigfoot hitting their male Bigfoot over the head because they don't have frying pans. Okay. I wouldn't.
Obviously the Tackle Tactician thinks in cartoon, form like us do, like we do. But yeah, I think Mary says, "Yep, I think so." But yeah, I mean, can you explain? In September of 2023, or was it 2022? Where? Oh no, it was September of 2020. 19, I think. Whenever we did, 2019, we went up to Lincoln Mountain in Saratoga County, New York, where we did that live show. And Mike gets a hit on the thermal really quick and it disappears.
Yeah.
Then the next thing you know, we hear a tree knock. And then everything goes quiet for a little bit, so we move down the field a little bit, around the road a little bit, start getting in towards the swamp, and then something chucks a rock at us. So do I think they tree knock? Absolutely.
Yeah. And throw rocks. Bad Bigfoot. Bigfoot.
Now, rock clacking, that's very interesting, too. I'd like to see if chimpanzees rock clack. I bet you they do. Well,
there are different sounds that have been reported, and some of them were rock clacking.
Mm-hmm.
So that is interesting.
Yep.
The pops, that's interesting. Could that be a mouth pop?
Yep.
Yeah, I love that quartet.
I was kind of in a jaunty mood tonight when I created that.
Oh, man.
Why can't I make a thumbnail of that?
Nick says, is it racist to call a Sasquatch a monkey? I don't think so.
Now we got some bad lyrics going on in chat, too.
Oh, no. Yes, I can see that.
That's pretty good, though. Hey, we're the Squatchies. We're just squatching around, but we're too busy playing to find our wood knock sound.
Oh. But the Monkees were cool. I remember watching them on TV. Yes, I was watching them, and not reruns either. I watched the Monkees on TV. Sure did.
I did not. I watched the reruns.
Well, you got to remember, we only had like 3 channels if you had a good TV antenna outside.
Oh, maybe it took a few years for the actual broadcast to reach Kentucky.
If you had...
That's right. Kentucky is actually 3 light years away from any TV broadcasting station at the time.
It's like, if you had a good antenna, you got 3 channels. If you had a cheap antenna, you got 1. That was it. So what was on TV was you were watching 1 channel, man. That's it. And now I was laughing about that the other day. I was looked around. I got like 12 or 14,000 channels.
Just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna post that meme I posted earlier. I showed you earlier, Chris.
Okay.
Let me just do one quick thing here, because Damned overlay. Oh, hang on. Let me try one thing. And for those in chat, for those that are out there, you'll kind of appreciate this. I think. I thought it was hysterical. Let me just pop that up.
Yeah, grass. When you break out the tin foil, man, that means you're probably only getting one channel. Yeah, yeah, in Kentucky anyway.
So here we go. No, don't want to do that.
Oh yeah, Mick. UHF too. Yeah. Watching black and white TV. UHF channels. That's right.
Okay, here we go. Oh, really? I thought that was pretty funny.
Vatican avoids tariffs with made in USA Pope. Well, I mean, congratulations. You know, that is something good. We're not going to get off on religion, but
or politics.
Yeah, or politics, but
just the fact that was funny. Come on, I mean, good humor there.
The first pope from the USA, and that's just I'm very pleased for Catholics, you know, in the United States. And they got the homeboy pope, great, wonderful.
And you know, my entire family, with the exception of me, is Roman Catholic.
Oh, really? Oh well.
Very, very strange. I'll just get into that real quick. People are like, well, how did that happen? You know, you heathen. No, actually, I go to an evangelist church. I go to Life Church. My daughter is right now an intern pastor right now. So she will, next week she starts her internship becoming a pastor at Life Church, one of the pastors.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And she was a Roman Catholic and decided one day she wanted to go to her dad's church. And she fell in love with it. So power to her. I'm proud of her.
Good.
But why am I not a Catholic? Well, a couple of reasons why. Because my parents were both divorced back in the 60s. And back then, you got excommunicated from the church if you were divorced. You got divorced.
Oh.
So they weren't really practicing Catholics at the time. I was born 2 months premature. I was supposed to be born in March. I was born in January. They didn't think they gave me a 10% chance of living. So my parents got the first clergy they could get in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a rabbi. But no, I don't care. I'm just saying it wasn't a rabbi, but they got a Lutheran minister in there to baptize me. So I was baptized Lutheran.
Oh, cool.
So the only Lutherans I had in the family were the cousins in Long Island who converted from being Roman Catholic to Lutheran.
Yeah.
So at a very young age, every time we visit them and we stayed overnight, I would get shanghaied and have to go to church, which I felt very uncomfortable with because I didn't have that every week. So eventually I found my own way. But that's the story of why I have so many Roman Catholics in my
very
family
cool.
and not me. And, you know, like I say, I respect all religions, no matter what it is.
That's right.
Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Shintoism, Christianity, Judaism, it doesn't matter. They all have their Confucianism, which is a little confusing.
Yes.
No, that would be
No.
the church of Bigfoot would be Dr. Matt Johnson. You know, where, you know, people are giving their testimonials.
Yeah.
Right? And that's true. He has done videos, and I've seen them, and not in a while, but he used to have them in his house, and they used to sit around on a bunch of chairs, and, you know, this is blah, 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 and he's going to give you his testimonial about, you know, the Janu. What he gets. Okay, let's do the update on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that update on the video. Is that some commentary and evidently, and even Isdall, during his, before he went into his rants about the great conspiracies, he mentioned that, the water was sub-freezing. Well, water can't be sub-freezing.
Yeah. Well, salt water.
Salt water can, but that's not a salt water.
Yeah, right.
So a couple of people said what you're actually seeing is a very far, long distance shot of a family ice skating. And you don't see that person is not running. They're actually skating on the ice.
That would explain the smooth movement.
Right. And what you see is somebody putting a blanket down, and that's the reason why the arm looks so long.
Ah.
They're skating on, the family is skating on the pond.
That's interesting.
And the little one's not, but the older one is.
Yeah.
Right? So that's at least how some of it's explained to me. So it may or may not be. Don't know. Again, we may never know.
Well, it's important to consider every theory, when trying to figure out what this is, because
But if that theory is true, then that would be a hoax, because why would the guy filming it be going, making the wholly explanatory, right?
Yes, right.
So I don't know. One would think you would see some differential in coloration of the figures, but I don't know. I don't know. The problem is with a film like that, you would have to do a recreation really to prove it in one way or the other.
Right.
If you put some people out there on the ice and they all look black at that time, and that could be too, because think about it too. The sun could be behind him, beaming down on this pond, which is going to create a little bit of glare.
Yeah.
And the figures in front would be all dark. Right? So without knowing what time of year it was made, the exact date, the exact directions, the exact location, and what time of day, we really don't have much to go on there. So it's not even.
And what gets me is the quality of the camera, of the video footage that is taken. I have got an iPhone 7. This is antique. Okay, it's very old. The battery's about dead, but I've been nursing it along for the last 2 or 3 years. And it's got 4K video. Everybody and his brother that has a phone has 4K video potential there. Why are you shooting this in 640 by 480?
Well, you never know. The guy could have, for all we know, the guy could have Cricket Wireless or, one of our consumer cellular, the old people phone where it flips up and you have the big numbers on the dial pad.
Video, yeah.
Yeah, he got his phone from the AARP.
I mean, you would have to really work.
He gets a knock at the door one day. He opens up the door. It's Ted Danson. Here's your phone.
Yeah.
You
would have to really try to get footage that bad. I mean, at this day and age, it's not something you could do.
Not necessarily.
But my wife's phone. It's like I think we paid $60 for it or something. It's just one of those little what is it? The pay by the month phone, whatever. And that thing, it's got a camera. Oh my God, it kills mine. I'm like, oh wow, this is great. And I paid, I don't know, $300-400 for mine back in the day.
This thing has the banging camera on it. Look at that.
Yeah, it's got like so many different lenses on there. Yeah. So it seems to me you'd have to really try to get bad footage anymore. Oh. Yeah. Sandra.
I just
that's
noticed
true,
this.
Sandra. The guys in chat are the entertainment tonight. Yeah, that's true.
They're always entertaining. I wonder how many, are probably sitting there with a big glass of bourbon or Jameson's or Grant, that's illegal. Depending on where you put them.
In the woods. No, he's gonna be, Well, I don't know. I mean, people do things in the woods, I guess. So.
It's funny. I'm driving today and I noticed somebody put one of their private security cameras on a fence on a road I passed by. So I'm going to make sure that on a nice sunny day, which Hopefully it'll be in a couple of friggin' days. It's been, ever since I bought that damn GoPro, it's rained every friggin' day. Which I've been wanting to get outside and do a little more, but no. Anyway, I'm going to drive by it one day and make faces at it like, or I'm going to give it the Bronx cheer,
Oh, well, if you had a little small Bigfoot doll, just sneak up beside the camera and have the little doll walk in front of the lens and then turn and look at the lens and then walk away like a Muppet.
Freaking get an Elmo.
Yeah, it's Bigfoot Elmo.
Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, Chris, it's 9:57. Why don't we start the? Let's start landing the plane.
We gotta get out of here. Yeah. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. I appreciate it, and Steve does too. We know we got the greatest audience we could ever hope to have. Thank you so much for joining us and hanging out. If it's your first time watching tonight, make sure you hit the subscribe button, smash the like if you hadn't already, and because it really makes a difference in our daily battle against the grueling YouTube algorithm.
Hold on. Trackway said the problem with 4K is the file size, though. Upload times take forever. I'm not having an issue. Of course, I got banging internet.
Yeah.
YouTube is still held to 1080. Not true. The last video I put up there was in 4K, and Chris watched it in 4K.
Yeah. I put all my stuff up in 4K, too.
You have to check the settings.
Yeah.
On your dial. It depends what people upload their video on. Not everything. If somebody only films in 1080, it's only going to go to 1080. But if they film in 4K, you can find it. If you click on that video I put in the members area, testing the GoPro, you can watch that in 4K.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And you seem to get better hits in 4K. I mean, I guess it does something with the algorithm.
I don't know. We're shooting, we shoot the program in 1080. If we wanted to do it in 4K, I'd have to get a 4K camera.
Yeah.
I got a 1080 because that was the thing. Maybe this does shoot in 4K. I don't know. But
my camera is from when Obama was president. So
wait.
It's not going to do very good.
Before we go, Grant Rasha just put a comment up in there.
Grant, let's see.
What was it?
What was it?
The last comment.
No movie?
No.
Upload with a 2800 baud modem.
Yeah,
so
anyway, folks, thanks for being here. We love you guys. You are the best audience in the world. On your way out, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. You haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe today. If you want to become a member, think about it. We have a lot of fun. We're getting a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out this year, both on the channel and for the members. So, you want to get on board for that. And by becoming a member here, you're also supporting honest Bigfoot research. We'll never steer you the wrong way. We'll never lie to you. We always tell the truth. We are out of time. We will catch you all Sunday night for the 2-hour program. And we'll see you Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Squatch-D-TV, youtube.com/@Squatch-D-TV. Everybody, have a great weekend. We'll see you on the flip side. Love you guys. Peace.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D-TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member, and it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D-TV. Keep on squatching.